Today, folks, one of the saddest things I come across as a Canadian finance nerd, this absolutely breaks my soul, is arguing with older and younger people about the absolute brilliance, tax advantages, tax loopholes of a registered retirement savings plan, an RRSP. I'm telling you right now, guys, you could become a multi-millionaire off this account, severely lower your tax bracket for all of you that are complaining that the government's taking like half your paycheck. And on top of that, this account has so many better advantages than even the US and most global governments offer to their citizens. In the US, they got 401ks and Roth IRAs, but you can't touch that till you're in retirement. This account you can use whenever you want, and we need to talk about it. So if you're as passionate about reaching financial independence as early as humanly possible like I am, guys, join me on that journey. Hit that subscribe button because you might learn something new in this video. We'll talk about the loopholes, how this account works, and so much more. Now, this is obviously my registered retirement savings plan where I hold some pretty boring investments. This is not the exciting part about this account, but I do hold the S&P. I got XEQT. I'm 33 years old, and this account's worth about $118,000. Now, what saddens me is apparently only 21.7% of all tax filers made an RRSP contribution in 2022, which was a slight decrease from the previous year. For the love of God, guys, only 20% of all taxpayers are making contributions. You gotta be kidding me, right? And most of those contributors are the age of 45 to 64, but the real tax advantage comes when you're in your 20s and 30s. That is where you're gonna get rich by utilizing this account. Now, the average median, I guess, of contributions that people have made under 35 are between 15,000 and 33,000. That's like the account size on average, and that's sad. That's pathetic. We can do better than that. If you've worked through your entire 20s, you should have way more contribution room than this. So how is contribution room calculated? Well, it's quite simple. The government just says, hey, whatever you made in the prior year, we're going to allow you to put 18% of that into this tax sheltered account, at which the government is going to refund you any taxes you would have paid on that money, at which the government says, hey, you put it in this under this umbrella, this tax sheltered account, and any income off investments, dividends, whatever you do under this tax sheltered account, we will let you make money tax-free in perpetuity until you pull it out, at which when you do pull it out, we're only going to tax you at your marginal rate. So I'm going to tell you how to take advantage of that in a moment, but we're going to talk about the real extremes here, because the maximum amount the government will allow you to take off income is $31,560, so 31K, right? And that means 18% of earned income up to 31K, you'd have to be making about $175,000. And I know that's not most of you, but I want to use this as an extreme example because it really goes to show how fast you can get rich off this, guys. Now, firstly, if you make 175K, the government is going to be taking about 58,000, leaving you with about 117,000 of after-tax income. At that point, your marginal rate is around 48%. But if we take the tax deductions of that 31,500 that were allowed, all of a sudden, guys, our taxable income or our taxes owed dropped to about 44,000. We now made 131,000 and our marginal bracket is around 43%. So we made tax savings of about $14,000. Now, that is an astronomical amount of money to a young person. To give you an example of how much money that truly is, 14,000 bucks, guys, over, let's say you're 30, you plan on retiring at 65, that's 35 years. If you make 10%, I mean, you're talking about almost $400,000 earnings potential in tax-free growth. Like, this is all under this umbrellaed account. That 14K could really grow into hundreds of thousands of dollars by your retirement. And let's talk about kind of the withdrawal side of this, because a lot of you get concerned the government's going to rip you off when you withdraw. But hey, you saved 40% or over 40% of a marginal bracket rate, because if you didn't put it in here, you'd have lost a crazy amount of it, like almost half of it to the government. But instead, you put it in here, you maxed it out, and you say, hey, do what I'm going to do. Wait till you're in a lower bracket before you withdraw it. Let's say you finally decide to retire early like I do, maybe at 40 or 50 or whatever, and you're going to say, hey, I want to pull 50K out of my RSP because guess what? I have no salaried income. I'm not making any money to the government. And 50K or less is a pretty low bracket compared to the 40 percentile range you were at. So you're only going to have to pay $10,000 on a $50,000 withdrawal. And if you need more money, you can pull it out of your TFSA where there's no tax implications and it doesn't affect your marginal rate. There's a lot of different ways to take advantage of this because now you're only going to be at a 20% marginal rate. Now, obviously, the government says at 71, you do have to pull this out regardless. And if you wait till 71, you can set up a withdrawal plan where the government switches this account over to a period where you'll have to withdraw certain amounts every single year. There's a lot of different ways to look at this, but I am somebody that does plan on utilizing my RSP long before I'm 65 or 70. Like, I'll probably start withdrawing from this, I don't know, maybe sometime in my 40s, maybe not, who knows. But for now, I just have this parked in incredibly safe investment vehicles like the S&P and XEQT. And another wild reality of this account, the government allows you to buy US businesses and you can collect dividends off those US businesses, just like I collect dividends off the S&P 500. And typically as a Canadian, when you're buying US stocks, dividend stocks specifically like Pepsi or Johnson & Johnson or whatever, the government says, hey, like, we can't let you make free money from the US. So the US government says we want 15% of whatever money you're taking over the border. But somehow in this tax sheltered account, the government set up a treaty that says, hey, we're not going to charge you that withholding tax. In this tax sheltered account, you buy all the US stocks you want, make all the US income you want. We will not tax you on it. Whereas in a TFSA, it's taxed at about 15%. So pairing these two accounts together, because the TFSA, the government just says, hey, you've earned money, you pay tax on it, put it in this tax sheltered account, make tax-free dividends, capital gains, pull it out without it affecting your marginal rate, pay no taxes thereafter, tax-free income in perpetuity for the rest of your life. It's a great thing. And then with the RRSP, they said, hey, let us lower your tax liability today so you can pay it later in the future. And if you pay it later in the future, you can do it while you're in a lower tax bracket, allowing you to become rich in ways that are unimaginable to countries around the world. And somehow people still sit here and complain to me, and I have to argue with them about why you need to be maxing these in your frigging 20s if you want to be financially set for the rest of your damn life. It shouldn't even be an argument today, but it's a shame the school system isn't driving this down someone's throat because, man, oh man, if you just spent from 20 years old to 30 years old putting away 20 or 30% of your earned income, you would never have to put another dollar away for the rest of your life if you wanted to retire at 65 or 70. If you wait till you're 30, you'll have to do it for 30 years. You won't be able to do it for a decade because you've wasted literally the best compound period of your life. Again, to give you an example of that same 14,000, if you did it when you were 20, again, let's just say you made one $14,000 installment in your RSP at 20 years old. How long is that going to give you guys? 40, 45 years until you're, 65. I mean, that's the equivalent of $1 million. But let's say we wait until you're 30, right? And we just got that example, right? If you wait till you're 30 and you only have that extra 10 years, guys, is the difference between $600,000. This is the value of compound interest and why you got to wake up to this in your 20s, guys. But I really, really hope this instilled some value, some incredible instillment of future potential in your career, in your finances, and in your personal way of life. But I'll pass the question off to you. I'd love to know what you think about this in that comment section below.